Kitzsteinhorn near Kaprun is an extraordinarily popular glacier resort. A sunny day on Kitzsteinhorn is a true skier's paradise. And since the area runs from mid-October to mid-May, that's a huge advantage in these days of weak winters. But high altitude, besides its pros, can also be a con. On Kitzsteinhorn itself, without Maiskogul, there are about 41 kilometers of pistes. So what should you expect from this resort? And are there any attractions beyond skiing? Or if you haven't heard, maybe it's worth learning some facts from the resort's history. All that and a few more things are in this video. Let's go! You ski high up here. The lower station sits at about 2,000 meters. The so-called Alpine Center is at 2,450, and most runs lie above that, up to 3,000. The resort starts up very early, usually in mid-October. By late September, heavy snowfall often begins. Of course, not all runs open at once. At the beginning and end of the season, you'll ski the upper sections above the Alpine Center. That big altitude is both a plus and a minus. A warm sunny day on Kitzsteinhorn is a skier's dream. But this is Austria, the less sunny side of the Alps, and the weather varies a lot. There are days when clouds roll across the area all day long with strong winds. And then you simply won't ski here. And even if you do, it won't be very pleasant. Remember that gray skies down in the valleys don't mean the glacier won't have sun. Sometimes it's like in these shots we're seeing now. Actually, we can't see anything. But often, as in most shots in this film, the clouds just lie below you. Arrive at the parking lot very early. It gets crowded here and fills up quickly. Ride up. Either of the two parallel gondolas is fine. There are two to boost capacity. It wasn't always like this. If you look at an old map from before 2000, you'll notice that underground, instead of a second line, there used to be an underground cable railway. It was a typical funicular about 4 kilometers long, over 3 of which were in a tunnel. Skiers affectionately called it the Mole. After 25 years of service, on November 11th, 2000, it set off on its usual morning run. Passengers in the back smelled smoke. The car entered the tunnel and never came out. A faulty heater and a leaky hydraulic system caused a flash fire, power failure, and the car's stoppage. 12 people ran downhill. They survived. 155 died. Most were passengers on the train. A dozen or so suffocated in rooms of the terminal building 3 kilometers up the tunnel. The fire behaved like in a chimney. A violent draft formed. The temperature reached 1,000 degrees. The railway was permanently closed and the tunnel was sealed with concrete. It's history now, yet it should be commemorated. Back to happier moments. Specifically, the round gondola cabin we take after a change to continue up to the Alpine Center. At Alpine Center we transfer to another lift, and a heads up. On one line, gondolas and chairs run alternately. You board at 2 separate places. And remember, the chairs only go halfway. They turn around at this station. Only gondolas continue higher toward the summit. We stay in a gondola almost to 3,000 meters. Here is the highest station where we'll start our first run. We take piste 1, then piste 13. Both are blue. You could call this the resort's main axis. We'll pass the key stations. If at the end we turn onto a red run, we'll ski all the way to the bottom. Piste 1 is very gentle. Especially up top, it's very flat and extremely wide. A perfect place for your very first steps on skis. This section opens first and closes last. We drift a bit right. It gets a touch steeper, but still very easy. We pass a group that for some reason always stands here. And we glide toward the mid-station. Here the blue is a little steeper, but it's incredibly wide, so it stays smooth well into the late afternoon. Farther on we usually ski in a convoy like a May Day parade. The run winds gently and the views all around are beautiful. We pass the snow park area and slowly approach the buildings visible from afar. In the afternoon, in this narrower spot, huge moguls form quickly. We descend toward the lift, and here's an unpleasant surprise. Let's pause the run for a second to say a few words about one downside of this area. On nice days, long lines do form here. The area isn't huge, but it's very popular. We climb a bit to traverse over to Piste 13. From here we still have a few hundred meters down, either to one of the stations if we stick with the blue, or if we go a bit farther and choose to cut right onto a red, we can ski to the base. That red section is lovely in the morning, but by the afternoon it gets bumped out and moguls, to the point that at day's end it may be better just to download by gondola. We're still following 13 and on a flat traverse we slowly head toward the station. The vertical drop on this top to bottom ski is about 750 meters. At the bottom, another downer. Lines can form here too. Luckily, not at all times of day. From here we can ride up again, but for the brave there's another way to reach the base. Just before the lift, you turn off onto the legendary Black Run. Its maximum gradient is 63%. That's the Black Mamba, a narrow, steep wall that, if you believe the marketing, is for the boldest only. It's a difficult run. In reality, the biggest challenge is weaving through the many skiers trying their luck, though it's above their level. All in all, it's hard to say how much this ski run is truly iconic and how much is just marketing. But every daredevil has to try it, so they can later buy the t-shirt with a clear conscience. Back to the lift station we came from before we skiing the Mamba. If we ride it up, we reach the start of Blue Run 10. It's a bit shorter but a very nice alternative to often crowded Piste 1. It's shorter and sits a little off to the side. There's an official speed check here on a fast section, but you can really check your speed a bit later. There's a little saddle where you need to go flat out to carry enough speed up the opposite side. Below about 60 kilometers per hour, you probably won't make it. The whole run is very pleasant and actually has a few variants. Past the saddle there's a smooth, even stretch. Much less skied out even late in the day, and at the end it feeds into 13. Playing a similar role to Blue 10, on the other side of the main axis you've got red runs. For example, number 9. It's not very steep, just a bit narrower. It runs more or less perpendicular to Piste 1 and is served by a 6-pack chair. When it's running, not closed. Crowds are definitely smaller here, and it's worth moving over if you want to avoid lines. It connects and intersects with other runs, so you can stitch together a few variants. For example, ride an almost empty 8-seater chair and ski down via 3A or 3B. These are also very pleasant reds, definitely less crowded than those in the central area. They stay in good shape till afternoon, so they aren't overly difficult. There are a few more runs here as well, for example the 8s or 7s, and also the Black Mamba 2. Let's pop back to the very top of the area for a moment. There are no chairlifts up here anymore, just T-bars. That's no surprise. In places this high, with often harsh weather, chairs don't work that well. Up here you've got red 4s and black 5s. Let's take a quick spin on the reds. There's nothing wrong with them. They're very nice, maybe just a bit short. The question is whether in the Alps you really want to ride T-bars. As for breaks from skiing, if we're talking about the number of cozy, characterful restaurants, there's a bit of a problem. On the Glacier there aren't many traditional family-run huts. To be fair, there's one really nice place, but apart from that, you rely on the eateries in modern buildings. On a warm day, despite the altitude, a currywurst eaten in the fresh air can be all you need. What else can you do here besides ski? You can absolutely go up to the top of Salzburg, Salzburgerland's high point. A small additional lift takes you a few dozen meters higher. You have 2 viewing platforms to choose from, though to reach one of them you need to go through a very long tunnel. Not the most comfortable walk in ski boots, but the stunning views definitely repay the effort. When should you go? First thing in the morning, when the snow on the pistes is in the best condition. No, it seems a shame to waste runs. But later in the day, this visit will cost you a lot more time spent in lines. So, go in the morning. Kitzsteinhorn was open to skiing as Austria's first glacier area in 1965. Into the 1970s, you could ski here year-round. Since then, it's become iconic. The word Kaprun makes many skiers' hearts beat faster. The area has been constantly developed since then. In 2019 it was finally linked to Maiskogel above Kaprun. They did it with a very long tri-cable gondola. That's how the area grew, though that second sector isn't a glacier. Time to wrap up. If you want to ski outside the core season or when winter is very warm, it's almost as if you have no choice, especially since there's nothing fundamentally wrong with this area. I'd still think twice before deciding to spend more than one carefully chosen sunny day here. The weather can be fickle and there are a few too many people. If you enjoyed this, give it a thumbs up and better yet, subscribe to the whole channel. There are more videos like this and more to come. See you out there.